Hey guys and gals, welcome back to my show, Coffee with Lisa. So excited to have you here. It's Lisa Patrick here with the Coffee with Lisa show. I'm your host. For those of you who don't know me, I get the pleasure and the distinct honor to interview many different people from many different industry market sectors with extraordinary talents. And today I've got Joe online, and Joe is a celebrity coach. Welcome, Joe.
Welcome. Thank you, Lisa. I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic. So now you have a syndicated live radio show called GoForIT.
I do. I love it.
Very good. And also, you've had some tough times that have led you to where you are today, and you've had some challenges to overcome, and perseverance was one of the major things that held the glue to everything that you did. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah. So what happened is I was a single mom from early on. I had been married to my son's dad, but we divorced when he was just a baby. So, yes. And that was fine, but I didn't know what it was like to be a single mom. So if here he was 3 months old and single, I was single, but it was the best. I look back now and it was like the best times of my life. But I met a wonderful man when Cody was 8. Cody's my son. When he was 8, and he asked me to marry him he wanted to be my son's dad. And he was just phenomenal. He was just wonderful and loving. But anyway, he had had an illness before I met him, and I knew that. But he was in remission and doing great. And I thought, oh, this is the answer to my dreams. We're going to have a wonderful family, and life's going to go on. Well, what happened is, life went on. But about 7 years into our marriage, he was diagnosed with a terminal illness again. It came back. But I had started an at-home business in 2004. And I never knew what a treasure that business was until he got sick, because I really wanted to be home with my son. Yeah. Well, little did I know I was going to be taking care of him. Plus, I'm part of the sandwich generation with my mom, even though she's still capable of taking care of herself. But you kind of get thrown into everything all at once.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I just really threw myself into my work, but I also threw myself into my family. And I had to learn that life-work balance, and really then on top of it, having a sick husband and a child going through high school. And thankfully, he was really good, and I never really had any trouble with him. But then as time went on, and so in 2010, Cody graduated high school. And then unfortunately in July, Jim passed away. And then in August, Cody went off to college. So then I really had to find what was going to make me tick, what was going to be good for me, And so I really talk about taking my life back, and really about how I did all that and overcoming the steps to do it. And from early on, I used to always say, let's just go for it. Let's just do it. Let's just go for it. And that's really where the hints of my business came from. And then in 2016, I had to think about that for a second, my first was published, GoForIT, A Woman's Guide to Perseverance. And that was really what catapulted me into where I'm at today.
Yeah. And so now you're a celebrity coach. You now have the syndicated live radio. So let's talk about that syndicated live radio, because I'm sure we have some viewers who would love to know, how do you get a syndicated radio show, and what does that look like, and what's involved in that? Because that's really important to some of our viewers.
It really is. And I will tell you, back when I was in 7th and 8th grade, I wanted to always be on radio. I just didn't know how to do it. I was like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
And I didn't know how. So I wrote the book. And really, when I wrote the book, I didn't expect one person to read it. I really didn't. I did it more for healing for me, and just to say I'm an author. Well, little did I know, it became an international bestseller on Amazon, being #1 in several different categories. So from that, I went out speaking across the country. And at one of the places, there was a gal who had a radio show. I said, well, I want that. How do I do that?
Yeah.
And so we had long talks about it. And little did I know I would eventually be an international syndicated radio show host. So I contacted the company, and we really talked about, I really wanted to hone in on my message. And this was a way to get my word out to the masses.
Yeah.
And so I'm syndicated all over now. And, it's really about asking. It's really about getting clear on what you want to be when you grow up.
Yep. And so now you talk about, you reached out to, is this a broker for syndicated shows, or is it a network, or like, where does one go?
Yes, absolutely. And trust me, I was the same way. I didn't know what to do or where to go, but I go through Voice America, because My technicalities, I don't know anything really technical, like the challenges of those kind of things. And I knew from past experiences, if I didn't know how to do it, what I would do is I would just sit and fret about it and never get it done.
Yeah.
So when I called them, they said they take care of everything. I just have to find the guest and get my, get all the my computer updated and all that. Oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
I could do.
Yeah.
I have got such awesome guests from all over the world that come on my show.
Well, I was just going to ask you, Joe, what's the maybe this person isn't the most familiar household name like a Richard Branson or but who is probably one of the most because I know you have a lot of interesting guests, so I don't want to disclude any of them. But Who was the one guest that was the most interesting to you?
Boy, I have a lot of them. I will tell you, it's a gal named Dawn, and she is the the director of her Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
But she also has 2 or 3 other chambers. And she was so interesting, but also she was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so she put a lot of fun into her interview, and she came across with such authenticity and genuineness. Yeah. That she really cared for her community. She really cared for the people that she served. And you could tell it just from the way she talked and how she had done lots of interviews. And I know some people have never done an interview. And so they're a little scared. But I always try to loosen them up a little bit beforehand or during the show.
Well, I know you do that.
No, I love to have fun. It's just like, that's just my gig. But she was really good. And people... After every show, people always write in. They always say, what a great show that was. How can I get in contact with that guest? So I'm always networking people. But I will say, because of all the people that I have interviewed, which are from, again, all over the world, she was really interesting.
Excellent. And so she probably had the motto in life of go for it, first and foremost. Yeah. Everybody who's on your show always has that motto. Yeah. And, it takes a lot of, in the world, so you used to be an executive assistant, correct?
Yeah. Virtual assistant, yeah.
Or virtual assistant, sorry.
Yep.
And so I know I could use a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
But I don't have one. So I know there's people out there who should have a virtual assistant and don't have one. Okay. And why is that?
I actually use a virtual assistant now. She works with me really part-time because I know how good they are, but you want them to be able to work in your business so you can work on your business. You don't want to do the mundane things of constantly, and which take up all your time and all your energy. So what I used to always say when I did my virtual assistant, I work in your business. Like I do the communications, I'll do the emails, I'll do the social media, I'll talk with people, take their credit cards, whatever it is. Then you can go work on your business. You can go do the networking or the sales or whatever it is you need to do to build your business. And if you can get that through your mind, you will just grow exponentially with, if you can use an assistant. And the great thing about virtual assistants are they don't work full time for you. Yeah. They're going to work when you want them to work. So if you want them 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, whatever, it's all basically what you need and what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And so not only does that help with the business, your overall business, but it also helps with a lot of other things. It allows you to get back to that life-work balance that we talked about earlier,
absolutely.
Right? Have more time with family and friends. And it is important, despite what a lot of people think out there, when they talk about, you got to go for it and, you got to 10x your business. You got everything you do, how you have to eat, sleep, and live your business. I do agree with that to a certain degree because you have to always keep it top of mind. But I think it's important emotionally too. And if you don't have that network, and if you're not paying attention to people that you know and you love, others will fall to the wayside. And it's funny because I was talking with a colleague friend of mine, and we were talking about she's looking to hire a couple people in her business. For various different topics and reasons. And it's not a virtual assistant, but I said, one of the things that I always look for when I'm looking for people and staff is that they have a really good foundation at home. Because if at home is bad, then it's going to happen at the workplace, and they're not going to be able to keep focused for that 8-hour or 10-hour day.
Absolutely. And it's all about that work-life balance. And just like what you said, that's why I'm a business and life coach, because if they don't have stability in their life, they don't
Yeah.
have stability in their business. If they don't have stability in their business, they don't have stability in their life. And it's really that coming together and being cohesive, they work together,
Yeah.
put it that way. They work
Yeah.
together.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's really about that because I've been through the life experiences, you
Yeah.
know, and I've been through a lot of the trials and tribulations and built a business along with that. I'm able to help them. And I talk to many people all throughout the day that they don't know where they want to go. Their business is like, oh, they're so bored with their business. Well, really, I think what happens is they're actually bored with something in their life.
Yeah.
That they can't quite get to their business, or they are bored in their business and they need a little bit more variety, or just maybe a kickstart to really get them to go for like putting themselves out there more, and getting more.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, even when I work with with the speakers and subject matter experts from all over the world, sometimes they don't just recognize what it is that is their hurdle or their constraint, and sometimes it's not business related; it's an emotional.
Right.
And that's really where people like yourselves, who are life coaches, come into effect, because that's really important. It's discovering that discovery of what is it. You can deal with anything, but if you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely. And when I was going to write my book, I was talking to a friend of mine and she said, "You need to journal." I said, "There's no way. I'm not journaling. I've never journaled before in my life. I'm scared to death of journaling." Well, guess what? It was the best thing I ever did. And at first I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. What do I write? I'll just write, okay, here I am, But it's just whatever comes into your mind, because you want to get out of your mind and out of your body and onto paper, because then it's going to clear up your mind, clear up your soul. And because if you're stressed, no matter what it is, work, life, whatever it is, it's going to show through your body. Absolutely. And if you can really get that out, then you're going to do a lot better.
Well, another thing too, and I am a firm believer of this, I truly believe that when you write something down, you hold yourself more accountable. Or when you say something to somebody live or, in a conversation, you now hold yourself that one more step accountable to the action that's required for that goal.
Absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of people get scared.
Yes.
They know if they write it down, they're going to be accountable for it, because there's so many, we talk about fear of failure, but really a lot of times, I don't know about you, but for women especially, it's fear of success.
It gives me goosebumps when you say that.
I know. It just like drives me crazy. I'm like, we have success. We're capable of it. Yeah. We can go make as much money as the men and more. And God bless men. I love them because they teach me. I know. They teach me a way that as a woman, it's like, sometimes you're like, I don't know if I can do that. But in reality, we can, and we have the capability to do it. Well, and that's why I always say go for it.
I think probably the biggest failure, it's not, like you said, fear of failure. It's fear of success. And I think the biggest thing is the challenge as women, especially mothers, that we face. How are we going to have a balance? Especially if our children are younger. I have twin daughters at home, and this is a fear of mine. How do I balance my continued success with my children and my husband, and make sure that everything works together and not one is less or more than the other? And sometimes it is, because that's what it is. But I often like to think that it's such a wonderful teaching experience. Like my parents are my mentors. I mean, they taught me how to grit and grind and be the person I am today. And now I get that opportunity to share that experiences with my children. And I think sometimes we forget as women that that's really all it is we're not depriving them of something. We're gifting them of something that's so much more powerful than any school can teach us.
Oh, absolutely. I never learned entrepreneurship in school. No, I never learned that. My mom's even like, "Where did you learn this from?" But in reality, she started teaching piano lessons when me and my brothers were little, because we had more money in the house. I said, "Well, Mom, there you go. You taught me without even knowing it that's entrepreneurship. Yeah. You saw a problem and you went and solved it." And that's what we do as women and men. We solve problems. And being a mother, it just goes to show that we're able to teach And it's like, it's our responsibility to be able to teach our children that, and be able to give back to them what we've been taught. So
Well,
I'm really all about that.
Well, and I think too, I mean, I was raised where, my children are, Mom, what did you do for fun as a kid? And I remember some things, like, in the winter time, I grew up in Saskatchewan, rural Saskatchewan. So in the winter time, I sledded and ice fished and did all those wonderful things, and I skied. And in the summertime, though, I grew up on a farm. So spring come April, once you were in the field till September, I really only truly remember farming. But I don't remember that as being a bad thing. I remember that as being, tailgate parties at harvest time. Mom brought the meal out to the field and we sat around and neighbors came over. And so there was always something going on. It was always around work, but it was never really work. Until I had to go to party at night and I had to finish cultivating in the tractor or whatever. But still, it was never really truly work. And I think they taught me something that is more than I could have ever learned in a classroom.
Absolutely. And my mom, my dad passed away when I was 11. So then my mom had to raise us, me and my two brothers, by herself. And what she raised us as is still hard work and dedication. And you work not because you work because you have to, but also because it's helping your family and you're growing your family. And that's all also a part of love. We do what we need to do for our families. But also when I started my entrepreneurship, I really honed in with my late husband and we talked about it and we really worked out a plan. And without that plan, if you just run into something and decide you're just going to do it, well, a lot of times it doesn't work. So you really have to hone in on that plan. Now, I don't like planning. That's really not my thing, but because I'm kind of a spontaneous, I'm not kind of, I am a spontaneous person. But to be successful, you really do have to have a plan and you really have to know where you're going. And then I know people say that all the time, but it really is true because I've tried it both ways and the other way just doesn't work for me.
Well, you've got to have goals and objectives and you've got to be accountable. That's the big thing is you've got to be accountable. And absolutely nothing comes easy. And I think people forget that, you see, all of these, because I get the pleasure of working with some, really quite famous people and, but they all have the same thing in common. It probably either all came from nothing or they had to work their ass off to get where they are.
Absolutely.
It was never easy. It was never easy. They had a lot of failures, but from those failures, they learned success. So I think the biggest thing is nothing. I always say to my girls, nothing is failure. At least you tried something. And to me, that's success.
That's what I say too all the time. I'm like, you know what? At least you're trying it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you when.
How do you know if you're good at anything or you're not good at anything if you don't try it? If you don't try it, you're never going to know.
That's exactly what I say. When I was in my late 20s, I moved halfway across the country and my son was 2.5. People thought I was crazy. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm in my late 20s. Who cares? He's not in school yet. And, I listened to the positive people is what I did. I didn't listen to the negative ones because the negative ones just want to hold you back because you're doing what they want to do, but they're too scared to do it.
Yeah.
And so when they see somebody doing that, they're too scared. So they're going to try to hold you back where I'm just like, I'm out of here. I've got things to do in life. And it's almost like, I know you talked to Tom Hopkins, I did too. And it's always like, it's the people who feel like they have to prove something that really hone in on their greatness. Yes. And you know what, if it's prove it to ourselves, prove it to our family, whoever it is, we're trying to prove it to, that we really hone in on our greatness. And once I moved, I will tell you the best thing I ever did because I knew then I could do it.
Well, and that's just it. And it's back to your philosophy of go for it, right? I mean, you wouldn't have a syndicated radio show. You wouldn't be the success you are today if you didn't go for it. I mean, it's the basis behind your book, right?
That's right. And, I never knew that. I just was something that I always said, and I just did. And I just never put it into perspective until the publisher said, okay, because when I went to write my book, I wanted to write about my husband's story. I wanted to give the information about him. And they said, you don't know your husband's story. Only he knows his story. You know your story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So that's where I really honed in on really talking about me, which I hated to do. I did not like to do that.
Yeah.
but it has helped people. And I thought to myself, if I could help one person, my life is complete. So,
well, it's funny. It's like you said, you didn't expect anybody to read the book except
no.
maybe your closest friends and family, of course.
Not even everybody of those have read it.
That's where we always go to first, right? But and look, at had you not gone for it, you wouldn't be where you are today.
That's right.
So you talk about your syndicated radio show. So tell us before we leave, who is the ideal person that you like to interview on your radio show?
Really who I like to interview. I love interviewing authors, coaches, business owners, because really I'm on Voice America's business channel. So we hone in, and then it's syndicated over onto the women's channel and onto iTunes and Roku. But really talking about, how do you start businesses? I really try to teach people how to start businesses. And then when we get on there and we grow their business, and then I show them all the media outlets they can take advantage of, plus being on my show, plus being on other people's shows. But for my ideal guests, it is business owners, coaches, authors who really want to appeal to a worldwide audience.
Okay, perfect. So those of you who are watching or are going to watch the replay later, you can get a hold of Joe. Joe, where can they get a hold of you at?
So my website is www.joehausman.com. And what I always say, I'm the female Joe, so that's J-O. So joehausman.com. And you can certainly go there, or you can email me, joe@joehausman.com.
All right, Joe, I am putting it in here right now in the feed for those of you. Does anybody have any questions for Joe? We've got some tuners in. We've got, hi, Mike. Hi, Kim. Hi, Julia. We've got Debbie. We've got Jennifer. We've got Nancy. Jenny, does anybody have any questions for Joe before we end the show here? And while we're waiting to see if any questions arise, if there was the top 2 things that you were to suggest to anybody to live a positive life, what would the top 2 things be?
I really talk about journaling. I'm really big on that now, really, because of journaling and really getting into your faith, because it just helps. It helps so much. And then also be grateful and not hateful.
Yeah.
And when you learn to be grateful and not hateful, your life will turn around for the better. And I know that those maybe sound like cliches or simple, but they're not simple.
Yeah.
People that I talk to are having a hard time with that sometimes.
Well, recently I had interviewed a lady by the name of Gabrielle Van Ray, and Gabrielle is the world leading expert on kindness. And we talked a lot about gratitude and gratefulness and the difference between being nice and being kind. And there is a big difference. And there's I think in the world today, we see a lot of people who forget to be grateful for the smallest things, because sometimes the smallest things end up being the biggest things in the end.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's so very true. And even what I tell people, even if you're stuck in traffic or you're standing in line at a grocery store, be thankful you're able to stand there in line. Be thankful you're able to drive a car. Be thankful, instead of going, God darn, that person just cut me off, which I know. But
I was in LA in traffic for 2.5 hours about a month and a half ago, and I'm like, I am so grateful to be living in Canada.
There you go. And I used to live in Colorado, and when, the traffic I just sit there and go, okay, what am I grateful for right now? I'm grateful for I'm driving. I'm grateful for, family. So you just have to practice it. It takes practice and repetition, but repetition is powerful. And, the more positive repetition is powerful. So
absolutely. Well, and it's funny because, just thinking about that, led me to another conversation I had just recently with she's an executive coach in leadership, and we were talking, about how to overcome hurdles and constraints and what have you in your business. And she said, she was in a really high stress situation. She said, I had to sit down and I had to practice that I acknowledge I did this. I acknowledge I did that. She said, I verbally had to say it so that I could walk myself through the biggest stress situation that she was having at that time. And it was a massive amount of success for her. It helped her push her through the next step that she needed to do and what have you. And so I really like what you just said, that, say, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. And say it out loud. It's okay if you're saying it in the shower or driving in the car, but absolutely. Thank you for that. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you're welcome. I'm a big believer in that. It took a long time. I've had years of practice, but every day I wake up and say, I'm grateful, first of all, for waking up today. But I'm also grateful for all the little things, the birds singing, spring and summertime, whatever it is. But I'm always grateful.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you say you're grateful for waking up in the morning, because there truly is. I mean, I've heard your story. We've shared some of it today. I understand why you say that every morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? Because some people aren't as lucky.
Yeah.
Well, they're lucky because they're in heaven, like my husband. But, you just have to be thankful. You have to be thankful for waking up.
Absolutely. And it's okay to send, every now and then, like Tom Hopkins says, send a little thank you note in the mail. All we ever get is, well, I don't even know, half the time we don't get bills anymore.
Absolutely. And it's so fun to get like personalized mail.
Yes.
Yes. That's what I love doing, personalized thank yous. Yes, definitely.
Well, thank you very much, Joe, for today. And for anybody who's tuning in here again, you're going to find Joe. It's within the feed. Her book is called Go For It, and her syndicated radio show is Go For It on Voice America.
Yep, and you're going to be on my show this Thursday.
I am going to be on your show this Thursday. I can't wait.
I know, it's going to be fun.
Oh my gosh, I can hardly wait. Yeah, just
Yay.
All right, well, thank you very much. And this is Lisa Patrick, the host of Coffee with Lisa, founded and sponsored by extracredits.com. Thank you very much, Joe, and for our viewers who tuned in today. Bye for now.
Bye.